Okay, what we're going to do here is we're going to create a low poly wooden crate. So here we go. So we want to go from the front view, and we're going to start off by creating a plane, just a plane. Okay, by default on the planes is they will have 4 segments on them like this. Okay. And we need to go ahead and get us a material to put on it. Okay, so you can just pull out a physical material. Good modeling for physical material is reflections. You can leave this at 1, but take your roughness to 0.6. No, actually, let's do 0.8. And then apply that to our object. Okay, so let's go to our modify. And so we'd only want 1 segment. So I'm right clicking on these tumblers. We just want 1. And we want this to be a square. And so we want 4 feet by 4 feet. All right, then we want it to be centered to our world. So I'm in my move tool. And so on my X, I zero it out. My Y, I zero out. My Z, I zero out. And then the pivot point's in the center. I want the box to be sitting on the ground. So I go here and I type in 2 feet on the Z, and that'll put it on the ground. Okay. All right, great. All right, so next thing we're going to do is create the planks that go around this. So let's just put an edit poly modifier on this. And then I'm going to go to edges, and I'm going to drag and pick these edges here. Be sure you're in F4 so you can see your F3 for shading, F4 for the wireframe on there. And then I'm going to go to my connect, and I'm going to go to my connect settings. Now default the settings is at 1, and I want to cut this twice, so we want a 2 here. And then on the pinch I want to put a 60 on the pinch, and then that'll give us something like that. Set that in. Now I want to go the same way, so I'm going to drag these, and on your connect it keeps the last settings of whatever was in there. So all I have to do, since I know that, is I just got to click the connect button, and then it will connect those exactly the same way. Okay, awesome. So now I want to go ahead and I want to extrude this. So I go to extrude, and then on the extrude I want to go 2 inches in, so 2 inches. But I need it to go in, so that'll be a minus 2 inches to do an inset. So in other words, it's going to make it seem like these boards are 2 inches thick. So we set that in. Okay, that looks pretty good. We go back to the front view. Don't need this grid. All right, so now we want to do a cross brace going across here. Okay, there's lots of ways that can be done, but the way I like to do it is I'm going to have my snap on. Make sure your snap is set to vertex. And I'm just going to create a line from this corner. Oops. I'm just going to create a line from this corner to this corner. Right click to stop. Don't like that shaded background. Okay. All right, so the thing about a line is that it can be renderable. So under rendering right here, you can click this to make it renderable. And by default, it's going to be a tube. Okay, it's going to be like a little cylinder. But we can come in here and make this rectangular. Okay. So rectangular on the width right here, we want 8 inches. Okay, which will approximately make it about the same thickness as this. And then we on the length, which is the distance, how thick it is, We want it to be a little bit longer because we want it to interpenetrate into that area back there. So we can just make it 2 inches because we're going to inset this. So we're going to turn our snaps off, and then I want to inset this so that this board is insetting inside of there. Something, we don't want it like 50%. We want it like maybe two-thirds showing out, but we just want it so that it drifts inside of there. Maybe something like that. Okay, so we're going to go to add an edit poly modifier to this, okay, which will make it act like a piece of geometry now instead of a spline. I really don't need this back piece, so I'm going to go ahead and just select that and delete it. Go back to the front. Now I want to cut the excess off. So all I have to do is to make my snaps on, make sure, you know, it is set to vertex, which it is. Then what we're going to do is do a quick slice. And then all I have to do is it's going to snap to these vertices. So just click here and then there. And then here to there. And then I need to do the same here. Cut across this. And cut across that. And then that will make it so that, let's put these on their own layer, create a layer for them. Okay. And so now we'll see that this line is cut. So what we want to do is go to borders and then just select this inside. Now you can't just pick it because it's got depth to it. Okay. So what you have to do is drag across it to pick it, then invert that selection, Control I, and then hit delete, and it'll delete those excess. And so now that perfectly matches and goes inside of there. Now we don't want this sticking this far out. So we're going to grab these edges and we're just going to pull them in. Okay, make sure you have your snap off and just leave it so that it does interpenetrate a little bit, kind of like that. And we're good to go. Okay, so that part's okay. Let's go ahead and put our shader on that too. And so now we can make this as one piece. So we're going to go here, attach, and then attach this. And this is one thing, and we'll just call this crate side. Okay, awesome. Okay, so now we're going to right click and rotate. To get back, what we're going to do is go move, and let's turn our grid back on. And then what we want to do is we're going to move it out on the y-axis, okay? And we know that this is 4 feet, so it will be 2 feet. So we want to go 2 feet on the y-axis. Oops, it'll be -2. It'll be -2 feet. That'll put it over there. All right, that's wonderful. All right, so now we're going to make the other side. So we're going to go to rotate, but we're not going to use its center to rotate. We want our angle snaps on, and then we're going to change this, which is our reference system. We're going to change it from view to world. And then we change this pivot point to the world, and it's going to rotate in the world. Okay, so now if I hold down the shift key and I drag this and I rotate it 90 degrees, so this is 90 degrees minus 90 degrees, and I say make me 3 of these, then it's going to make me all of the sides. There we go. So there's all our sides. Now they're individual things. And so what we want to do is attach them. So we're going to go and attach this, that, and that. All right, now we want to weld these together because even though they're attached, they're made up of separate elements. Okay, they're not all welded together. So what we want to do is go to border. We want to select all the borders. Now all we need are these on the box. It's going to select these other ones on the edge. This open edge we deleted, but we don't care because it won't matter to those. All right, now we need to convert this to a vertex selection. So holding down the control key and going to vertex. Now it will pick all the vertices on those edges, and all I really care are the ones that are on what we call coincident vertices. They're sitting right on top of each other. So now I can go to weld and click your weld settings. Now your weld settings by default should be 0.039, and that is a setting that will weld coincident vertices. So only vertices that are right on top of each other, and it won't weld anything else. And then I set that in. Okay, deselect that. So now when I go to element and I pick, this would pick the whole box around there. These will still be separate elements because they're not welded and cut in. It's an advantage for us to not do that because it's fewer polys. If I cut it in onto this piece in here, stitch it in, it would be okay, but it just add extra polygons to it and we don't get any advantage from it. So we really want to do that. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now what we want to do is to grab this open edge and hold down the control key and grab this open edge down here. So now what we're going to do is go to scale. Okay, and this lets you scale. As a matter of fact, I need to change this. Our scale setting up here should be on this top one right now for what we're doing here. So make sure this is on the top one. Okay, so now I can go to my scale settings and it's going to give me a percentage, okay, where I can scale it in or out, okay. So I'm going to hold down my shift key when I'm doing it. Perfect. Shift. Won't let me do that. Okay, let's do it manually then. Okay, so we're going to just manually scale this. Make sure this is on view, and this needs to be on center point. Alright, so now if I scale using this edge, it'll scale both this way and this, but not this way. Hold down my shift key and scale it in. Now, and when I do it this way, we're kind of eyeballing it. And the thing that's nice about that is it keeps this nice and straight, but I am kind of eyeballing it. Now, you can get mathematical. If I undo this and I go ahead and go to an extrude and go to settings, then I can tell it to extrude it in or out. You have to make sure you don't have a taper on it. So this has got to be set to 0. So in this case, I'm going to be scaling it so it goes in, and we'd want it to be 2 inches. And actually we want it to be a little bit thicker because we know that this was inset 2 inches. So it has to be a little bit more of that. So let's go maybe a 2.2 like that. Now that gives us kind of a funky edge when it does that, but I'm going to show you an easy way to fix that. So at this point, we can go ahead and just bridge that, and that will connect our top and bottom. Now, to get rid of this little funky wedge in here, what we're going to do is you're going to turn on your snaps, but you're going to right-click on your snaps, and you're going to go to your options, and we want to turn on axis constraints. This will tell it where I can only move it in a direction that I predetermine. So now if I pick this edge, we need to be in the move tool. Then when I start pulling on this axis, okay, and I go to here, it can only pull this way, and then it'll snap it to that. And then I do the same thing here. I pull this way and I snap it to that. Now that's squared. So I just go around and do that. Here to there. Green one to there. Here. Green one to there. Red one to there. And then here. And then there. That'll square that up. So I could have done it the other way and eyeballed it, but this way I did it mathematically. I don't care which way you do it. If you do it mathematically, it is going to pinch the corners, and so you have to come in and fix that, but that's an easy fix. Okay, so that's the basics of our low poly crate as far as the sides. Now, we're going to want a chamfer on this, okay, because we're going to edges to have a chamfer on it. So we're going to go in here, and we're going to put a chamfer on it. Now, initially the chamfer is going to chamfer all the edges, and it's going to round them, okay, which is maybe what we want for like a high poly where we want to get a nice roll on this, but that's not what we want for the low poly. So for the low poly on our segments over here, we want it to be set to 0. And then the amount that we want on here, let's go for, let's say 2 inches, or 2/10 of an inch rather. And maybe that's a little skinny. What about 3/10 of an inch? Yeah, I like that better. So about 3/10 of an inch. Now, but this is going to run us into a problem because we're doing this to make this seem like it's a board, okay? But the problem is that on the inside in here, okay, a board doesn't do that. This board would wrap in, and it's making it wrap out, and that's not correct. So what we want to do here is go into our edit poly, and then we want to grab the things that we don't want it to add that to. So we don't want this, and okay, we need to also, over here in our selection, we need to turn on back face. That way I can pick this and it won't pick the back face. And so I don't need that snap on right now. We want to pick this. Actually, I don't have to pick that. I just need this. I think I have to pick these two. Let me see. I forget. Okay. Yeah, so once I pick that and I invert it, then that'll get, yeah, so see, that'll get me my bevel out here, but not out there. So that's what we have to do is we go to, we pick these, and then we pick these edges. Here. We don't have to pick this one. Pick here. And then that. And we have to do that all the way around it. Okay. And I'm holding the control key to add to these selections. Now, once I have all those picked, I can save that selection. So right up here, it says create selection set. So I'm going to say sides, insets, and then hit enter. And what that allows us to do is later on come back up here and I can say insets, and it'll pick all those again. Okay, what I need is the invert of this. So Control I will invert it. And now I leave this on and I go to chamfer, and now that chamfer is just going to chamfer the leading edges. And what I mean is edges coming out at us, not edges going away from us, which is what we want. Okay, so this is, let's name this low poly crate base. Okay. All right, now we're ready to make the top. Okay, so we're going to go back to our edit poly down here, and what I'm going to do is, how do I want to do this? I just need, okay, we pick that. And then we're going to pick the insides. So what we're going to do is clone this to make the top. So there we go. That's the top. So what I want to do is move. Now if I hold the shift key down, make sure we don't have a snap-on, and I pull on this axis, it's going to clone that, which I don't want. So if I hold the shift and the control key, it'll make a copy of it. Now it's going to ask me some questions up here. Clone to an element. What that means is it's still part of this, which I don't want. I want it to be a separate object. So I say clone to object. And I'm going to say this is the crate top. Okay. Okay, so from there, I can grab, pick it, grab border, and then I can extrude that. And we want it going backwards, and I don't want any of this taper on it. It wants to put a taper on here, so 0 this out. And we want this to go 2 inches. So mine is 2 inches. There we go. And then with that selected, I can cap that. Okay, so to cap it, we can right click and go cap here. You can also go up here and click cap here. You can do that also. So make sure I have it. Make sure I have the border picked and then cap it. And what that'll do is put us a cap on this. Let's do Alt X. And we need to make sure that it's not clipping that other piece. So let's just grab it and just pull it in a little bit just to be careful. Okay. By the way, I was using Alt X to X-ray that. And now we can rotate this up. So rotate, and I want to go back to view and on its own axis. And it's going to take the axis off of the box. So I want to fix that. I want to go to hierarchy, effect pivot only, center to object, and that'll move its pivot over to itself. And then I can roll this up. Make sure I have angle snaps on when I'm rotating it. Okay. And then I can move, and I can use my line tool and pick on this and go center, and it will center it to that object. And now I can slide it up. Okay, so now what I want to do is to be able to extrude it down and it fit right inside of this box. Okay, so to do that, I need some help here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in here, and I'm just going to temporarily add an edit poly on top of this. And then I can grab this edge by double clicking on it. Okay. That inside edge, which is the inside of the box. All right. So then right here is a button, create a shape. So it'll take that selection and it'll create a shape. Now we created a shape and I still had the render on it, which I don't want render on it, like so. All right, so that, let's look at this from the bottom, is where the top has to slide into. So what we can do here is grab this polygon right here, and then I can do an inset on it, and I can just manually do that, and I just know I've got to get it to go a little bit inside of that line. Okay, and now I can extrude that. And we'll extrude it 2 inches. And there we go. And then I just want to connect with this, with cuts in here. So we just want to go to snap, cut, and then we're going to snap to that vertex, cut across. Matter of fact, let's go ahead and hide this shape now. All right, so I'm going to do that again. Okay, so cut from here to there, here to there, here, to there, and then from there. Okay. So same thing here, chamfer 0. And then the same thing, we don't want that inside edge, so we can go here, tell it to grow, invert that selection, and that's what we want to chamfer. Okay, then from the front or the side, we can slide this down. Turn your snaps off. And we want to just barely touch that. Okay, then I can do a mirror to that. And we're going to make a copy, and I want to mirror on the Z. Click OK. Okay, why did that not mirror it? Let's isolate this. Okay, mirror it. There it did. I don't know why it didn't mirror it a while ago. Okay, so let's go ahead and offset it quite a bit. That. And there we have our low poly crate that we can unwrap now. And then once we unwrap it, then we can come back and make the high poly crate and get ready for baking our maps from it. Okay, so hopefully that helped you guys on how to make the low poly crate. So there you go, ready to go. Okay, let's do one more thing. I forgot. We want to set an animation in for this. So what we want to do is to click on this, go over here to auto key. Let's go to frame 10. And then let's move this up like here. Turn off our auto key. And now this is animated. Because I think what I'm going to have you guys do is when we bring it into Sketchfab, we're going to bring the animation. So we can look at it when it's closed, and then we can look at it once it's open too. We'll be able to do both of those. Okay, that's the last thing I wanted to do. All right, hope that helped you guys. All right, thank you very much.